Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of TJ Plays with some AI stuff. In this edition, I want to talk a little bit about the Figma Claude to Figma announcement for the new feature in the Figma MCP, and a little bit about how the Figma console MCP works with that same code to design workflow. I demonstrated this a little bit before when I was talking about design to code parity and code to design parity, but I figured I would just demonstrate what Figma console MCP does. That's slightly different from the way that the Claude to Figma MCP feature handles code to design. This isn't anything saying bad about the Claude to Figma feature in the Figma MCP. I think it's great. I think it has a lot of great use cases. I think it doesn't necessarily appeal to the audience that I create content for and do these demos for and create these tools for. And I'm going to demonstrate why what Figma console MCP does slightly is different from the way that the Claude to Figma feature works. So if anybody's familiar with this is Story UI. This is a Mantine design system here. I just NPM installed it into a Storybook instance and then created a couple of stories in here, and I hooked up Story UI in here. For those who don't know, Story UI is a MCP power generator that allows anyone to leverage the components within your Storybook environment to generate layouts on the fly and then use them for prototyping and testing and stuff like that. On this side is Figma. This is the community-supported or the community-driven Figma Mantine UI design system. It's probably a little out of date compared to what's in the current NPM version of Mantine. So you can see that some of the button stylings don't necessarily line up exactly, but I think it should get us where we want to get it. So what we're going to do is just first generate a story. We'll say, generate a user profile edit screen. Oh, I don't want, it said user profile edit screen. Let's see if it figures that out though. That might not be what we want if it suddenly turns everything green. But for those who don't know what Story UI is, it's a tool that you install inside any Storybook instance. It instantly discovers your components that you have available, and then, oh, look, it turned it all green. I don't know if that's going to work. Let's try this again. Let's go to a new chat. Let's try generate a notifications preferences card. That should give me some like switches and some maybe a header and some buttons and things that I think we have components for. So that would help out. But yeah, sorry, I'm using Whisperflow, and sometimes if I'm lazy when I'm speaking, then it doesn't pick it up the right way, and then it'll end up turning it into something else, like we saw with the green preferences card or profile card. All right, so it generated this this notifications card. Let's see what we got. All right, that's pretty involved. I think it looks great. These all work. Excellent. Okay, so now we have a couple of stories. I don't think we need all of these. I'll just say for the Figma MCP to create the default one that it finds, and I'll ask for, I just created this little blank page right here. It's got nothing on it, called AI Playground. So it's just a standard page. The Figma console MCP can create this page, but I just went ahead and created it for them, so that way I can save on time and tokens for the purposes of this demo. So I'll say, I just created a new story in this instance for notification preferences. Could you please take the default story and then turn that into a Figma design? I created a new page in the current Mantine UI design systems Figma project called AI Playground. Can you please create or recreate the default story design in that page? And I know it goes without saying, but please make sure that you use whatever available Mantine components that are in the Figma design system, as well as any variables or tokens that align with what's in the code base. and then we'll hit enter, let that go. So I didn't pass it a link or anything. I didn't even tell it. I didn't pass it a link to the Figma file, and I didn't pass it a link to the story that it created. So this is all going under the assumption that it knows what Storybook story to grab based on the name of it. So it found it just by me saying it. It is aware of the code base for what it's worth. So this is in a React Mantine specific Storybook instance that I have loaded up for testing Story UI. And just to give you a lay of this land, this is just a standard Figma UI design system setup, and I do have, this is the Figma bridge running, so to keep the Figma console MCP aware of my whole local environment here. So what it does now is it opens up. Let's see if it goes here. It opens up, yeah. So it uses Claude and Chrome to open up the file so it can take a screenshot. This is something that I like it to do, only because it has all of the spec in the styles that it can grab from the code, which is good. But I think having the visual reference with it is great. So this is using the combination of two separate MCPs. One is the built-in Claude and Chrome MCP, which I use pretty often. You can use the Playwright MCP for this too. That'll open up in like a dev browser, and it'll do the same thing. Also, the Chrome DevTools MCP will do the same thing, and it'll spin up a new browser instance. It'll access that page. It'll take a snapshot of it, and then it'll pass that back into the AI, so that way it can continue doing what it set out to do. So it says Storybook is loaded. It says, let me grab a screenshot so I can see exactly what we're matching. It's doing this. And then for those of you who don't know what Story UI is something that I created a long time ago because we had the need for mainly non-developers, specifically focusing on product designers and product managers, to be able to kind of test the composability of their components within the component library and do some other component inventory type things, comparing dark mode and light mode and doing button inventories, as well as a bunch of other fun stuff too. I have a lot of demos and I have a lot of workshops and stuff posted on the website and throughout LinkedIn where you can kind of go see a lot of the Story UI demos. This most recent version of Story UI is the latest update where it has a couple of new features where you can access different language model providers. So up here, you can load it up with OpenAI, Gemini, or Claude, and then you can choose from the models for each one of those language model providers. And then you just prompt to your heart's desire. You can upload an image too, and then it'll reference the image for the component generation, and it puts it over here, and then you can play with it. This is on localhost, but we have a couple of these. We have a way to deploy these to hosted server, so that way you can generate these stories and then send them to people, put them in a Jira ticket so product engineers can develop them, however you want to make that work. All right, so this is still running. It's probably a couple of tasks going at the same time. And this is where it'll end up being generated. It's still tinkering. One of the things that's hard for these demos is that the larger the component, the more that it has to think about where to get the components from and where to get the tokens from. So it may take a little bit longer to compile that component. All right, so now we got some action here. It sees it clearly, and it's going to go ahead and try to build it all in one shot in Figma. So it says the tools are loaded, now executing the full card build in Figma. Where is it building it? Wow, that was pretty fast. So it didn't put it in the AI playground, or maybe it it missed what I had mentioned there, but it just snapped it together really fast. I wish it would have showed me how it was doing it, but sometimes it happens that way. So now it takes a screenshot of the Figma side of things to make sure it lines up with the screenshot on the other side of things. And then, so it did it. So this is a fully customizable component. You can see it's using a badge component. It's using a divider component. It's using icons that are actually from the system. It's using a switch icon. Let's see if I go into any of these for the typography. All right, it is using typography that is not this should be using tokens. Let me just ask you to do a round trip. It looks like some of the tokens haven't been applied. Would you mind taking another pass and making sure that all of the tokens line up? So while it's doing that, I just want to keep poking around. So yeah, there are some hard-coded values in there. So let's let it do an assessment, and then let's see what it does to line it up. And then in the meantime, let's just compare it to what it is that it built. So on the right, let me squeeze this in here. On the right is what it built with the components that were in the latest version of Mantine. On the left is what it put together with what it could from the components on within this Figma library. You can see there's some subtle differences between where things are now, but this is pretty spot on. So I'm not mad at this at all, especially given that these two design systems weren't exactly in sync. Now, there's a couple of things you could do from here. Let me see where this is now. I'll double check on this. All right, and there we are. We have it's using the gray fill. Let's see about some text. Still using that typography. What about this header? Still using that. Let's see. Let's do this. It looks like the typography isn't lining up correctly. Let's go ahead and add a Figma comment to the header, just saying, please update this typography to convert to tokens. So let's just say, like, it's not my job to do this, that it's likely someone else's responsibility to ensure that this gets applied correctly. And I'm just the person who's here to ensure that the design is mainly there. So I went ahead and created this little, I had Figma Console MCP create this, and now it says, please update this typography to convert the tokens. So Figma Console MCP did its job, created this fully customizable and editable interface, and then I went and added a comment to it. I can add comments anywhere within it to say, please update this thing. So now the person who's responsible for this design would come in, and then they would go ahead and make their edits. But anyway, that's it. It's something that's completely doable from the Figma console side of things. If you wanted to make things go faster, you could probably cache a lot of these things ahead of time. Like if you do like a full inventory of everything that's in here, it'll likely go a little bit quicker. Also, I'm using Sonnet 4.5 I'm using Opus 4.6 for a task like this. You could probably get away a lot faster by using Sonnet, the latest Sonnet 4.6. So anyway, have fun with it, play around with it, enjoy, and I'll see you next time.